All right, what's up, my brothers? In this video, I want to review a post that was brought to my attention by a friend on the Twitter X platform, and the caption reads, "Wife says she no longer wants to cook." Hey guys, I'm Rich Cooper. If you don't know who I am, entrepreneur, best-selling author, and relationship expert. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about long-term marriage and one of the many problems guys run into, and also why I'm not a big fan of marriage. I'll break this down for you. So again, the title reads, "Wife says she no longer wants to cook." It says, "I'm looking into doing online meal delivery service because my wife said, quote unquote, she no longer wants to cook. I do half the cooking, but she always complains about my meals, so I'm done." She's never worked since we've been married. She's always been a stay-at-home mom, but it's something that we've always struggled with because she's not a fan of cooking or cleaning. We've had a maid in the past, and I make decent money, but I just can't justify the expense now that the kids are teenagers and mostly out of the house. Have any of you guys out there had luck with meal prep services and those online meal provider services? All right, so we have a guy here who's, let's say for all intents and purposes, has been married for a good 12 to 15 years and is stuck in a situation where he's married to her, she's a stay-at-home mom, and she refuses to, I guess, maintain her obligations as a stay-at-home mom. Usually the deal, this is like the TradCon wet dream, I've talked about this before, is a lot of these traditional conservatives are like, hey guys, I'm getting married. You see this all the time on social media. I'm gonna keep my wife home and we're gonna have a big family and our relationship with God, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. The deal really is he goes out, he'll go and get the bacon, brings it home, and she cooks it up. And it sounds like that might have been the deal for a while for him. But then the kids became teenagers. They spent a lot less time in the house or out with their friends a lot more. She's probably not cooking for them as much if they're out. And she's now announced or declared in the marriage to her husband, I don't want to cook or clean anymore. And that forces him to look at some remedies, because what do men do for their wives? They try to make them happy. That's just how men are. Men, when they love a woman, will go to the ends of the earth to make her happy, keep her happy, to make sure that she's comfortable, to make sure that she's in a very, very good place. And that includes paying for maid services, maybe a chef, meal prep and stuff like that, which is not what you would expect if you've been in the workforce going out there making money and she's been a stay-at-home mom. Usually the deal is, again, you make the money and she looks after the household. That's usually what most guys sign up for, or they think they're signing up for. The problem with that, and this happens to a lot of guys, this isn't rare, this is on a balance of probabilities, more common than it is uncommon, is she gets comfortable. She's been married now for 10, 12, 18 years, and she's come to the realization that family law is on her side. They usually figure this out, the gals, hanging out with their girlfriends on wine night, where they get drunk and they cackle away and they swap war stories. The worst that can ever happen, by the way, guys, is if your wife is hanging around recently divorced women, not just a woman, but what usually happens in situations like this, and I've seen this with many of my friends too, is if one woman in the friend circle, in that clique, gets divorced, quite often, a lot of the times when the ladies get together, they share their stories, and then the other women start announcing that they want to untie the knot and get out of the marriage. It's a very precarious, dangerous type of scenario that you guys should be aware of as a sidebar, as a side note, but that's the reality of it all, right? And she makes this announcement now, I don't want to be cooking and cleaning anymore, so you go figure it out, Bob. And Bob's now going on to discussion forums going, hey, you know, wife used to cook and clean, now she's not doing it. Anybody got any experience with meal prep services? And there's nothing you can do. You can't tell her, woman, cook. Woman, it's your job to clean. I make the money, you look after the house. Because if she wants to, she can just declare, all right, I'm done. You're going to tell me what to do. You're going to abuse me. One of my favorite ones is when I hear he abused me, and then you probe and you ask questions like, well, he financially abused me. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, he set a budget. And really what it means is he set a budget that she didn't like and she didn't want to follow, and she overspent or spent more than what he said. And there's all this going on. And then she just says, fine, I want a divorce. And the guy can't do anything about it. He can't do a damn thing about it. If she gets bored after 15 odd years, the kids are all grown up, they're teenagers, and she doesn't feel like maintaining her feminine obligation to the matrimonial household, which was in the past taking care of the house, preparing the meals, keeping the house nice and tidy so it looked good, while he went out to work and slayed the demons and put out fires and came home. This is the environment that most men live in today. And in this case, I took this post and I shared it on Twitter X, and one of the most prolific, outspoken opposition voices to mine, because I'm the guy that says smart guys don't get married. There's a chapter in my book titled Why Smart Men Are No Longer Getting Married. And then I'll tag somebody like Matt Walsh, for example, from the Daily Wire, and it's like, sometimes he responds, a lot of times he doesn't, but they don't have any real solution to this. And it's because there is no solution. Their solutions are exhausted usually at the point of, well, you should have vetted her better. And it's like, I'm sure early on when she was cooking and cleaning, he kind of expected that to continue in perpetuity until she figured out that she didn't need to and said, I'm not doing it anymore. You figure it out. You get a meal prep service or you cook half the meals. And that's absurd to me. If you're a man going to work and you're making all the money for the household and paying the bills, and then as this guy talks about, he comes home and he's cooking about half the meals, but then she bitches and complains that she doesn't like the meals, then of course you're going to be like, well, what am I supposed to do? Hey guys, anybody got a meal prep service you can refer me to so I can keep the missus happy? The old ball and chain sort of thing. You get what I'm saying here, right? Like, what is the solution to this? I've never heard a single traditional conservative that can offer a solution to women that change their mind. I've said this many times. I covered it in my book in many different places. Women always reserve the right to change their mind at any given time. They don't want to do something anymore, and you're married. No fault divorce doesn't care. They don't. It doesn't care. The family courts do not care why you're getting divorced. That's why it's called no fault divorce. She can make up any reason. Irreconcilable differences is usually where it's summed up, but in my opinion, that's not a good enough reason. Again, the deal was, in marriage, you would get an agreeable, chaste virgin into perpetuity who you would look after, and she would bear your children, you would name your sons, and you would sort of like die together, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. Like, that's basically the deal that most guys expect to get into. But what they usually end up getting into is something that transforms into a version of this. Disagreeable woman who's no longer meeting her obligations, who just says, I'm not doing it, you figure it out. And it's like, men have responsibility in a relationship. And in a case like this, where it's a stay-at-home mom, he has a responsibility to make sure the mortgage is paid, there's a roof over their heads, there's food in the fridge, the stomachs are full, the utilities are taken care of. And by the way, if he decides that he doesn't want to meet his obligation anymore, guess what? The courts can enforce his obligations on the household through divorce. The courts do not force her obligations on the household. They only enforce his obligations on the household, right? He wants to get divorced. All right, well, she was a stay-at-home mom, so you're going to have to pay for her now. You have to maintain her lifestyle. If she's living in a 4,000 square foot home and, I don't know, her monthly draw might have been $5,000 or $6,000 a month, the courts go look at child support, they look at alimony, there's a division of the assets. There's no, like, he can't go to court and be like, well, she wasn't cooking anymore or she wasn't cleaning anymore, so I want to keep all my shit. The judge will be like, yeah, that's nice. Who cares? Split everything down the middle. She gets the house, she probably gets custody of the kids, and then he has to move into his parents' basement or moves into a tiny townhouse after he built this beautiful custom home for his family that he hoped to live in into perpetuity and grow old with his wife. And that's just the way things are. And there's no hedge. There's no hedge against any of these things. It is the way that it is. Do you got a hedge against it, guys? I want to hear it. I'll leave it, like, honestly, email me. My email's on the About page. Email me if you have a better solution to a problem like this, and I'll have you on a podcast. I'll debate you. I don't care. Let's hear what it is. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe. Pinned in the top comment, there's a link to my book, which you should read if you haven't. The Unplugged Alpha, it's a bestseller for a reason, and links to other stuff, including my School of Unplugging. Guys, for less than $50 a month, you can get access to all of my best material. Me for weekly Zoom calls, my team of experts. We cover everything from making life-changing wealth to dealing with women better to your health and a whole bunch of other stuff. Go check out the School of Unplugging. Again, less than $50 a month. You can cancel anytime. See you guys later. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this,